Hey, what's up guys? It's me, ThePsychNPDavidC. So today I want to talk about high functioning autism. So people with autism are often referred to as being on the spectrum because someone's degree of autism can vary from being like very mild to very extreme. But when people hear the word autism or autistic, they usually tend to think of the more extreme side of things. They'll think of somebody who's like super weird in social interactions, who doesn't talk very much, or who makes like weird noises. But high functioning autism usually describes people who are on the more mild side of the spectrum. So they still have those things, but they're a lot less noticeable. But living with high functioning autism can still be a pretty big challenge. So let's break down what high functioning autism actually looks like, and I'll give you personal experiences on how it feels to live with it. Let's talk about it. So one of the first signs is social communication differences. This is one of like the most telling signs that someone probably has autism. Like they're unable to read somebody's tone or like sarcasm. They may just interpret what somebody's saying in a literal sense. They probably struggle to maintain eye contact, and they struggle to maintain a conversation. I actually struggled with making eye contact for a lot of my younger years, until I learned that by not making eye contact, you're making the other person feel like you don't respect them or you're not paying attention. So I actually had to learn to like maintain eye contact with the person I'm talking to. And I still actually struggle with that pretty recently too. When I was in nursing school like 7 years ago, my clinical instructor pulled me aside to give me like one-on-one criticism. And then in the middle of the conversation, she's like, "Can you look at me when I'm talking to you?" She didn't say it in a mean way, but I was just kind of like, "What?" And then I spent the rest of the conversation just looking her like straight dead in the eyes like this. So yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable, but I've learned to like break eye contact like here and there just to like not be staring 100% at the person's eyes the whole time. And then as far as reciprocal conversation goes, I'm really bad at small talk. Like I used to never initiate small talk like ever just because I really don't care for it. When someone makes small talk like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" Like, I just think they don't really care about how I'm doing. They're just saying it because, you know, it's a formal way of small talk. And then a lot of times I'll just be like, "Oh, I'm doing good." And then like, I don't ask back like how they're doing or anything like that. And then the conversation just kind of like dies. But I've learned that doing small talk and like reciprocating conversations just makes people think you're like friendlier. So now I'll just initiate small talk just to like make me seem like I'm friendly, you know? I'm not saying I'm not friendly, but it helps me seem like I'm more friendly. And then another social communication difference is they may just seem blunt or awkward even when they're trying not to be. Like I actually had a conversation with my psychiatrist earlier today, and he was giving me constructive criticism, and I was kind of just looking at him like this. And then he was like, "I'm getting the sense that I'm saying something that you don't really want to hear." And then I had to be like, "Oh, no, like I'm not trying to be rude or anything. Like my face is just flat like that. So I really do appreciate what you're saying." But yeah, a lot of people have told me my face is just like flat all the time. I barely have any facial expressions unless something is like really funny, which is pretty rare too. So people with high functioning autism, they may look like they're distracted, but they might actually be paying attention. They definitely struggle with social conversations, and it's kind of like a chore to like reciprocate facial expressions and conversations and stuff, especially if you don't care about what you're talking about. And that actually leads us to what we call masking. So masking is consciously imitating neurotypical or normal behavior to fit in. Regardless of what anyone told you during your childhood, everyone wants to fit in with their peers at least to some degree. So somebody with high functioning autism doesn't want to be the weird one who's not showing any expression and not talking to anyone else. So when I'm talking to someone or talking about something that I don't really care about, I will purposely make facial expressions and just say things just to make it seem like I'm interested and like fitting into the conversation. This applies a lot, especially at like social gatherings where I don't know anyone. If I'm in a group of people and they're talking about something, which I most likely don't care about, I will chime in with just some random thought in my head to make it seem like I'm engaged in the conversation, even though I don't really care about what they're talking about. It's masking behavior that makes it seem like, you know, I'm normal and not autistic. It can be pretty exhausting and take a big toll, especially if you're in those situations a lot. After I leave the social interaction, I'm just like, thank God, like I don't have to pretend anymore. Masking is a lot of the reason why high functioning autism often goes undetected. Like if you interact with somebody with high functioning autism for a short period of time, they can probably mask it the whole time. But if you continuously interact with them for like a longer period of time, they probably can't keep up the masking forever. And then the next sign is sensory sensitivities. This is when someone is like super sensitive to any of the 5 senses, most commonly being like sound, touch, or sight. From my personal experience, sound is a really big one. That's why you see a lot of people with more severe autism wearing headphones everywhere they go, because they just can't like handle the general noises of the world. Is it the reason I'm wearing headphones in my videos? No. But I do get triggered by sounds sometimes. Like a dog barking repeatedly would trigger me pretty hard. And this sounds kind of messed up, but one time my friend just kept coughing because they were sick, and that cough just triggered me too. Yeah, that sounds horrible, but it's actually kind of true. I think I do definitely have a sensitivity to touch though. You know how when you greet a friend, if it's a guy, then you'll like do a little handshake or something, but if it's a girl, you'll do like a hug. Back then, when I greeted one of my friends, no matter which gender they were, I just wouldn't do anything. I'd just be like, hey. But yeah, anyway, people with high functioning autism can definitely be sensitive to any of the 5 senses. And then next up is emotional regulation and expression. This one is pretty huge too. Someone with high functioning autism can often have difficulty displaying their emotions. Like I mentioned earlier, most of the time my face is just like flat like this without much expression. So like even in a stressful situation at work where everyone else is like freaking out, I'm just like this. And then people are like, wow, you're so calm. When in reality, I do feel the stress inside too, but it's just that my face just remains like, for some reason. A lot of times they'll be like indifferent to praise or criticism. Like sometimes someone will tell me, hey, good job, David. And I'm just like, thanks. And on the other side of things, their emotions can be pretty intense. Like people with severe autism, they can go from 0 to 100 really fast when they get mad. For me, there are certain things that do that, but I try to keep it like contained within myself without expressing it. Unless I'm in a private area like my car where someone cut me off or something. But yeah, anyway, it's not like people with high functioning autism don't feel emotions, they just express it very differently. And next up is the desire for routine. For people with autism, having the same routine for things is huge. Routines provide structure and safety so we know like exactly what to expect. I take the same route to work every day, I take the same route home every day. Even if another route is like 5 minutes faster, I'd rather just take the route that I've always taken. Whenever I go to the gym, I want to take my pre-workout shake exactly 30 minutes before I start working out. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of resistance to like sudden changes or transitions. People can mistake this for stubbornness, but it's actually kind of just a symptom of autism. So yeah, maintaining a routine is more about predictability and safety. And then next up is cognitive and behavioral traits. People with high functioning autism usually like to think in like black or white, like either one thing is right or the other thing is right. There's no like in between. They need like straight facts, and they really prefer working by themselves. I absolutely hated group projects throughout school and even through work. I'd rather just do everything by myself because I know I can do it fast and I can do it my way. I prefer things that are like structured and technical. I don't like things that are like ambiguous or like creative. So yeah, in a sense, it's kind of just like navigating ambiguity. We'd rather have things that are like clear and concise. And last but not least, we have special interests and hyper-focus. People with autism tend to have very few interests, but those interests that they do have, they're really freaking interested in them. It's not an obsession, it's just a source of like joy. For example, I've been watching wrestling like WWE since I was like 8 years old. I've watched every single episode every single week. As you can see, I have my Roman Reigns action figure right there and my WrestleMania poster right there. So I'll literally spend like hours and hours just watching wrestling every single week just because it makes me happy, to be honest. Like it gives me a nice break from reality and all like the Psych NP stuff I have to do. When people try to describe me, a lot of the time they're like, oh, that's the guy who really likes wrestling. I don't really have any other interests besides like movies and TV shows and video games. So yeah, people with autism have very few interests, but they're very interested in those interests. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up how it feels to live with high functioning autism, at least in my personal experience. I actually haven't been officially diagnosed, but now that I'm a Psych NP, I can just diagnose myself, right? Just kidding. Well, anyway, if you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. I want to hear your experiences with high functioning autism if you live with it too in the comments down below. I am also on TikTok and Instagram if you want to follow me over there at ThePsychNPDavidC. And with that, your mental health just leveled up. You're welcome.